I'm Lindsay Dreyer, founder of Happy Agent Co., where we empower women in real estate to build financial independence, lead with authenticity, and create joyful lives and businesses. Each week, I'll bring you bold conversations, actionable strategies, and the inspiration you need to build a business that supports your life, not the other way around. This is the podcast for women like you who want more than success. They want freedom. They want to make an impact. And more importantly, they want to do it all without sacrificing their happiness. Welcome to Happy Agent Co., where success is unapologetically yours. I am really excited about this episode because we are going to dive into something that I don't think we talk about enough in the real estate industry, which is when do you actually call it quits? When do you just realize, real estate's not for me anymore and I am just done with it? So today, my guest is Erica Rojek. She is a former real estate agent, mom of two who is divorced, and also a power lifter, which, hello, that is so amazing. Yeah, girl, get it.
My biceps aren't impressive.
I actually kind of thought they were pretty impressive. Like, you can't see mine, but I'm working on them. So let's start at the beginning. When did you get into real estate and what made you decide to get into real estate?
So I had started my career in interior design in commercial furniture, and then I moved into sales. And during the pandemic, when, obviously the market got really hot, and so everybody's like, let's be a realtor. But I had actually, my marriage ended in February of 2020. And I moved out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so when the pandemic hit and everybody stopped going to work, I'm looking at my job selling commercial furniture, which is office furniture, selling office furniture to workspaces. And I'm like, oh, damn, I only have my income now and these two kids and this new apartment. I better make sure I have a backup plan. And so I thought, I've always been interested in real estate. I had a good friend that had gotten in like a year prior, and she was really succeeding and she was really positive about the experience. Mm-hmm. And so I thought, okay, this seems like a good fit because I could make some extra money, but I can make it on my nights and weekends because I knew that was going to be more likely when clients wanted to go tour homes and, kind of when the action would be. So I'm like, okay, I can keep my regular job and I can do this. And, and I'd also made quite a few real estate mistakes in my time. I did want to be able to help use my experiences to hopefully keep, or at least help other people, guide them to not make the same mistakes that I made.
So tell me a little bit about how in the beginning you were balancing having your full-time job, being a co-parent with two kiddos, and also entering into real estate. How was that experience for you, especially during the pandemic?
It was insanity. I was very fortunate because my full-time job that I had was remote based and I was essentially able to make my own schedule. And because of the pandemic, I didn't have to go out on the road anymore. I wasn't going out and doing lunch and learns and meetings, and everything became virtual. So that did sort of open up the opportunity for me to have a little bit more time and bandwidth to, come up with what was my plan going to be. I'm going to work on social media posts, reaching out to my sphere, all of, that sort of prospecting, getting clients activities. Mm-hmm. When I had my kids, it was very hard to give anything at all. So because they were home. And at the time, my daughter was preschool age.
Oh,
so
boy.
The days that I had them, I got nothing done with anyone. It was basically just time management, account management for my main job, and then squeezing in anything that I could real estate wise, which at the time was kind of nothing. But the days that I didn't have my kids was, Saturday mornings, I would sit on calls with my broker and she'd go through all of the forms with me and all the contracts to make sure I understood everything. And, I would take that time that I didn't have the kids and couldn't go anywhere. So to really, learn the business more and listen to podcasts and read books and try and educate myself because, the imposter syndrome can be strong.
So strong.
So I thought, I really need to like dive into feeling like I know what I'm talking about so that if I do get clients, I'm actually
Mm-hmm.
properly advising them.
What did success look like for you? So, like, what were you hoping for in that first year or two?
Well, I had been told that like the first year of real estate can be the hardest for people and that there's a lot of people that don't even do one deal their first
Right.
year. And so success to me was going to be doing at least one deal. And I did end up doing two my first calendar year as an agent. And I was pretty happy with that. Ultimately, I felt like what I envisioned my success being was seeing my name on signs in front of houses everywhere I went. Like, there's
Mm-hmm.
some agents that like you see their name everywhere. And I'm like, I wanted to be that agent. I wanted to be that person that is just like, oh, yeah, there's another house being sold by Erica Rojek.
That's so cute. I love that. Like, that's when I made it, when you see my sign
Yeah,
everywhere.
everywhere. It was probably going to have my face on it or like me standing with, like some sort of
Yeah.
like,
With your biceps, just like,
yes,
what's
exactly like
up?
a
Here we
push.
go. Yeah. You're like, we can do it. When did you start to feel like things weren't clicking? Like, when did you start to feel like, ooh, maybe this wasn't the right call?
Oh, well, so all along when I even got started in real estate, it's very heavily pushed by people that, you have to go after your sphere of influence and pursue the relationships that you have with people
Mm-hmm.
to hopefully they'll choose you as their agent or they'll refer you to someone they know. And that's how you're going to get your business. And there was always something that just felt icky to me about
Mm-hmm.
that because I am a people person and I do have a lot of like friendships and relationships and I didn't like that kind of underlying tone that I now had in my brain that like, oh, I'm reaching out to someone to schedule lunch, not because I want to see them, but because they're now on my prospecting list.
Right.
And I need to make sure that I touch everyone on my list X amount of times every month or every, few months. Like, I just didn't like that because it took away my authenticity of,
Mm-hmm.
my relationships because I had this like second underlying agenda of maybe they'll choose me or even like forcing conversations or trying to say that I'm a real estate agent or, it just, I was putting a lot of pressure on myself and I felt a lot of like outside pressure to just like hit your sphere. That's going to be where you get your business from. And that just felt uncomfortable to me. But I, of
Yeah.
course, was still trying to do it as authentically as I could because I didn't want to be a skeevy, like car salesman, real estate agent. I legitimately wanted to help people. I'm not a salesperson that was like, oh, I could sell ice to a penguin. Like, if you don't need the ice, I'm not going to sell it to you. Right. And that's that's the way I felt about selling houses. Like I didn't want to be someone that was going to convince you needed to move.
Right.
Somebody came and said, well, I'm thinking about expanding or I'm thinking about moving, that I'd be like, okay, well, pursue what it looks like to put on an addition. Get a few quotes, see how much that costs, see if it gets you the house that you're looking for. And then if it doesn't, call me and I'll help you go buy one that does. Whereas I think that some people would try and skew the conversation into, well, it's going to cost a lot of money and you're going to have to move out.
Right.
And I didn't want to do that. So all of those moments were hard as far as developing actual client base based on my
Mm-hmm.
sphere. Because I also, I have a big list of don'ts. I didn't want to door knock. I didn't want to cold call. I didn't want to do that sort of stuff. Like that all felt very outdated to me. And nobody answers their doors anymore. Like they
Oh,
look at you
no.
in the Ring camera and they're like, I don't know you, go away. Some people will actually say that too. Like some people
Oh,
ignore
I'm
you and pretend
sure.
they're not home, but some people
Yeah.
actually tell people to go away. So I knew I didn't want that either. But as time went on, I just wasn't making the progress in my career that I thought I could have or should have. I would be upset if a friend didn't use me as the real estate agent, and it would hurt my feelings. And I've been in a sales role for commercial furniture. If somebody didn't choose my furniture, it's like, okay, well, we weren't in their budget.
Exactly.
They just didn't like what it looked like. We couldn't get it there in time, whatever, on to the next. But it's like with real estate, you feel like you're promoting yourself. And so then when you get rejected, it's like, well, why wouldn't you use me? Why don't you want to work with me? Like, don't you trust me? Because there's a lot of conversation around, you need to know, like, and trust, right? That's like the three things to be the person that gets chosen. And I'm like, okay, well, if I know a lot of people and I think they like me, it must mean that maybe they don't trust me. And that brought up a lot of insecurities. And
I'm sure. Yeah.
I was really, wrapped up in my head about that. And like, who am I as a person? Am I professional enough? Does my sphere trust me? Because this is a really big financial transaction, and there's a lot of emotion involved. And I would have panic, like I would have anxiety attacks when I had a listing and it went live. That first day of an active listing for me was terrible because I would be so stressed out about like, I hope I've done a good job. I hope that they're going to get offers. Like, what if they get mad at me? What if they're not happy with the offers they get, or they don't get any at all and it's all my fault? And it's just like, I would spiral. So that wasn't healthy. It's just, there's just a lot of things that was pointing in the direction of like, hey, maybe this isn't the right career for you.
You brought up a really good point, though, of I think that so many agents think it's going to be so easy to get business from their sphere because that's what we hear. We're like, oh, that's where all your clients are going to come from. Mm-hmm. And I really think it is harder than people make it out to be because your sphere, they know you in one context and they know you as Erica the person. And to make that flip in their mind from Erica the person / friend / family / whatever to Erica, yes, you're in that bucket, but you're also a badass real estate agent, that takes time. Like a lot of people don't just automatically, once you announce you're an agent, they don't just say, oh my gosh, like, yes, obviously, like, here's all this business. That just doesn't happen. I feel like it takes 2 to 3 years of really consistently showing your sphere that you're a full-time, like, you're doing this agent for that to, like, really happen. And that's a transition that I think our industry is just, we lie to agents about it. Like, we are not honest about how difficult that flip is.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's how do you prove to people that you're a good agent if you don't have the business to show yet?
Exactly.
So it's like, that's where it does become, the overwhelming of, well, you should do social media posts and, you've got to talk about real estate, basically any chance you get, and send emails and be a source of knowledge for them. And it's like, yes. But like, it still doesn't change that everyone, especially because I'm in Maryland, outside of the DC area, everyone knows at least 5 agents.
Oh, more than that.
Oh,
yeah.
So
10.
Yeah. And so it's just like, I had one friend that I became an agent and she was about to sell her house and buy a new house with her family. And she had an agent that she had been, essentially, she jokes, abusing for the last few years, where like anytime a house popped up, she'd call and be like, oh, we want to go see this house. And they would never end up buying anything. And she was essentially like, hey, listen, I've been doing this to this guy for the last few years. Like, he deserves our business. Like, I love you, but we're not going to use you. And that was really heartbreaking because I'm like, what do you mean? You're not even going to interview me? I could do a really great job for you. But the fact, and I appreciate her loyalty to this person. But yeah, it's like your sphere isn't just handing their business over to you just because they like you.
Exactly. It's just such a misconception. I wish we could just get rid of it. It's total garbage. So I can imagine that having a full-time job, being a divorced mom, and then trying to build a real estate business was just so incredibly overwhelming. What did that look like for you in terms of your time and energy commitment?
Well, the first thing that it required was delusion on my part. Um,
You're hilarious.
I remember listening to a podcast. It was years and years before I even became an agent, but listening to a podcast of this woman that had built a great real estate career, and she had done it being a part-time agent. And she just talked about how it naturally grew, and one deal led to the next deal to the next deal, till all of a sudden she had so much business that she couldn't work her regular job anymore, so she was able to quit and go full-time. And I kind of used this one person's story as this like marking point of like, oh, this is totally
you can do
doable.
it.
It's doable. Like business, like once it gets rolling, it will just come to me. And that didn't happen. So the energy that I had in the beginning, like in the first few years, to balance, like it would be me like writing down, what are my goals? What do I need to do? How many social media posts do I want to put out? Scripting the social media posts, recording the social media posts, editing the social media posts, like doing all those things. It's really time consuming. And it's like, and then it didn't necessarily lead to business, and so it became harder and harder to stay as on top of things,
right,
because of that. And I did try and look at like, well, what really is getting me business? And it really kind of felt like it was just luck, like random circumstance of somebody asking me to go, like a friend asking me to go get drinks one night, and she happens to be looking at moving, and she's like, yeah, and I'm just not happy with my agent. Can you help me? And I'm like, okay, like it was just like, oh, cool, but it's just like, it didn't feel like I once had like a social media post that came back and somebody responded like, oh, I would love to work with you. I'm thinking about moving. That person still to this day has not moved. And this was 3 years ago, right? Yeah. So it's like you spend a lot like trying to work my regular job. Now, my regular job, I had been doing it for many years, getting into real estate. So I'd already built a really strong business. So it didn't require me a ton of hustle energy as when you're getting ramped up. So I was not using my brain to its full capacity. There was space available for me to think about real estate stuff in my downtime. And so it really was just prioritizing what I thought was going to help get me business. And then also trying to listen to other people tell me what was going to get me business. And then trying to do those things. But I think that it is very hard to do it all. I think it's hard to do it all, even if you're a full-time agent. I think if you have your days completely free to network and lunch and farm and record social media content, doing all those things is a lot. And to do that when I was just trying to squeeze it in to my evenings and weekends every other week, it just, when there was no return, it just like,
it's so discouraging.
It is. It's so discouraging.
It's why I wanted to do this episode, because I just feel like, just like you heard that success story of that woman who was like, it's part-time and it just kept rolling and rolling and everything just got better and better and better. I think you're the norm. Like, she is the exception. I have seen so many part-time agents, and I don't say that with like hate or like as a diss, but it's like, it's a part-time job because you have a full-time job and also children, which, oh my gosh, I can't emphasize how difficult it is and how rare it is for somebody to go from part-time to a full-time real estate agent success. Like, there's this flip that has to happen. And it's, first of all, I think rare for that to happen. But then when that flip happens, you eventually have to take that leap of faith and leave your full-time job before you're actually ready.
Yeah.
And that is a scary place to be, especially if you don't have a second income to rely on and it's just you supporting your household. That is so scary.
Yeah, it is. It is really scary. And I remember my very first broker said to me, kind of early on in discussing going from part-time to full-time and setting a goal for when that was going to happen. Because she's like, you can't just indefinitely be a part-time agent. If you ever want to be full-time, you've got to set a deadline, you got to work towards it. And she's like, then you got to burn the boats, right?
Yep.
It's the idea of you have to not give yourself that cushion, that escape, because if you do, you're going to lean on it. And I 100% did. I didn't have to behave as though my family was going to starve, right? Because I knew I had another job there that was actually supporting my household, kind of.
Right.
And, I think real estate agents that this is their only source of income just have a little bit more fire to go out there and make it happen. And maybe that's when they do lose all shame and all, voices in their head of the imposter syndrome, because they're just like, ignore it all. I've got to go make this happen. And I didn't have that. So I still stayed very trapped in I don't really have to do that. I don't really have to go like host this open house. I don't really, I don't have to. I don't really want to. Like I can do it on what works for me. But I think that really held me back from growing. Also, I think that was probably one of the early signifiers that I should have realized I wasn't really meant for real estate, because I
Right.
didn't want to do real estate activities. Right? I
Yeah.
didn't want to host open houses. I didn't want to spend my Saturdays at showing. I didn't want to drop everything to show someone a house when I had other plans, right? Like I did it because when you get a client, like I wanted to serve my clients, but I didn't like want to.
Yeah.
It didn't light me up inside. It didn't like bring me joy. It was like, oh, well, this is just part of the job that I have to do.
When did you start having that inkling of, I don't think this is for me? I'm detesting all of the activities I'm supposed to be doing. Like, when did that creep in? And when did you really start paying attention to it?
Um, so late last year, I had some real estate business fall through. That was going to be 3 transactions. I, was like, yes, this is going to be great. I see my credit card debt flying out the window when I get all of these
Hooray!
closed. And, stuff happened and those deals didn't go through. And I was so hurt and frustrated and upset. And I'm just like, I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. Right. I'm just feeling like beaten down by all of
Mm-hmm.
this, because I feel like you spend so much time trying to pour in to a business that you're told will eventually return on your investment, with all the clients that I worked with that never ended up buying, all the time that I spent marketing and, doing free workshops or, postcards to send out to neighborhoods. And it's just like, and here I am, like business just, somebody will still just walk away from you without thinking twice about what you've put in to helping them and the time and the energy and the effort. And they just don't care. I also didn't know what I was going to do for that extra income that I needed.
Right.
Right. So it's like I reached a breaking point where I'm like, people really don't give a shit. Like you think that you build a relationship with people that and they will still just do something else with no regard to your well-being. Right. And it's
Yep.
just, but I was still like, oh, I got to stick this out because this is my only other, essentially I visualize it as an open door. It's my only other open door to income. And I need the supplemental income right now.
Mm-hmm.
But what really was the kicker for me, like the whole reason that I ended up leaving the industry, is because I
Yeah.
had
What
been
was the nail in the coffin?
yeah, I had been so frustrated, but I was sticking it out because I'm just like, I'm not a quitter. You only fail when you quit. So I'm not going to fail at this. And I'm a stubborn asshole.
No, you're just listening to all those toxic podcasts of
Right, because it's just like, it just
like
keeps being like,
you
if you
can
just
do
keep
it.
going,
Just
just
keep
keep
doing
going.
it.
Yes. And it's like, that's what I thought. I'm just like, at some point it's going to click. At some point it's going to happen. But I was just upset all of the time and stressed out all of the time and just unhappy. And it just felt so weighed down all of the time. And my current broker, who is a boutique brokerage, that was kind of just getting up and running in the last few years, sends me a text message and is essentially like, hey, we need to talk about your future at this brokerage. And I'm like, are you breaking up with me because I'm a part-time agent? And they're like, well, no, not necessarily. But it just seems like you're not able to put in the time and the energy into real
Mm-hmm.
estate that you really need to. And, we need to part ways. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, all of a sudden, I saw, oh, maybe this is my chance. Maybe this is my moment. Like, maybe I get out. But then, like, the fear came in, right? Where it's just like, no, you need to have this opportunity for income. You need to, like, look at all the time you've put in. Look at all the money you've put in. Look at all the things you've done. What if you're just on the brink of greatness?
Oh my gosh.
And so I thought to myself, like, okay, well, I've always done boutique brokerages. Maybe this is the time that I go, I have a friend at EXP that's always told me I could, work with her. I've got a friend at Compass that, has a team and told me I could come work with her. I'm like, maybe I explore the big brokers. And every time I thought about joining a friend,
Mm-hmm.
I knew that I would want to show up for them in a really
Right.
great way. And everything inside of me was like, but I don't want to show up. I don't, because they're going to initially hand me off the buyers with all the showings and all the open houses and literally all the things I don't want to do. And I'm
Right.
like, I don't want to do real estate activity. And I was just like, I don't want to do real estate activities. I don't want to do the work. It is just, I don't. And it finally just kind of like, it all washed over me. The opportunity to like walk away without hurting anyone, without offending anyone, without, actually being a jerk. I could just stop this right now, right? My license is about to renew. Just don't renew it. Just close this door, right? Just let it be done because you're not happy. It's not lifting you up. It's not bringing you joy. You don't think you want to do this full time anymore. So what are you even doing here? My broker at the time was kind of like, let us know, where to send your license essentially.
Right.
And I'm just like, don't, I'm done.
Yeah, I'm
I'm
out.
out. I'm out.
I'm really proud of you because I think so many people just keep going. All that toxic advice of just, it will click eventually. Just keep doing it. Just keep going. And in real estate, it is really easy to just like kind of keep it going. You just renew your license. You renew your realtor membership, you hang your license somewhere, you just kind of are like, I don't know, like if something happens, something happens. But
Yeah.
I think it was brave of you. I think it was really brave to just be like, you know what, this isn't for me. I don't want to do these activities. And like, I think that so many people, probably more agents that really need to quit. Like, I think there are a lot of agents out there that are miserable. They hate doing the activities. They're maybe selling 5 to 7 houses a year. And like, they're just like, I hate this. I'm miserable right now. And they really probably just need to quit. So I'm wondering for those people out there that are having the same feelings as you, the same thoughts in their mind of like, I hate this. I don't want to go on another showing. If I have to go on another listing presentation, I'm going to vomit. What advice would you give them?
I would say that it's okay to just let this be a chapter in your story,
Mm-hmm.
to let real estate just be an experience that you had, that you tried, and that it's okay to walk away from, because living in the I'm about to become great, I feel like there's opportunity to be great and just
Mm-hmm.
be great and find something that like truly suits you and lifts you up and makes you feel good. And you're never going to have the space for that in your life if you're holding on to this.
That is incredible advice. It is really just that was a chapter. It didn't define you. You're not a failure. It just it is something you did and now you are done with it. Just like
Yeah.
anything else.
Yeah. Cause like I really thought about, well, maybe I keep my license and I do like just referrals, right? Cause, oh, I've
Hmm.
put in all this time. What if I have generated something and people call me like, I want to buy from you? And I have to say, like, oh, let me refer you to someone else. At least then I could get a cut of that. But like that then reverted back to my feeling about using my relationships to like my personal gain is like, I don't want that. I don't want to just live in this land where I'm still an agent just so I can take 25% of somebody else's work. I'd much rather just not be an agent, not be licensed, be done with it and moving on. And if somebody that I know calls me and, says they want to buy or sell with me, let them know, like, I'm not doing that anymore, but I have these three amazing people that I think you'll be happy with any one of them. And like, and it ends there. It's not, there's no kickback. There's no, nothing. It's just,
Hmm.
these are good people. Go work with them. Yeah.
So tell me about how it feels now that the door is closed.
It feels really good. I had become sort of unaware of how inundating the real estate industry is and how, because I was following all the Instagram accounts and I was signed up for different emails and I've done the coachings. And so it's just like I had this just, I got to go through and unsubscribe from so many emails, not yours. Um,
Thanks.
but I unsubscribed from like all the marketing and content emails and all the coaching emails. I unfollowed all of the coaching accounts and, like I just unfollowed and unsubscribed from so many things. And it felt so good, like so good. It's like this whole portion of my brain just became available to me again because it wasn't thinking about when am I going to get my next transaction? How am I going to get my next client? Am I doing a good job? Am I working hard enough? Do I really know what I'm talking? Like it just
Right.
all shut off and went away.
Oh, how freeing is that?
It is. It really,
So freedom. That's like
yeah,
freedom right there.
yes, it is. And, I get, I think the, sort of the fear that can come in about, well, where is your supplemental income going to come from? And I kind of just decided like, I don't care right now because I know that this is not for me and it's not helping
Hmm.
me get to a better place. And, one of my favorite quotes is everything you want is on the other side of fear. And so I think that when I can recognize that I'm making a choice because I'm afraid is like when I need to make the opposite choice. And that's what this was. And you know, I'm not going to be afraid of where's the supplemental income going to come from. I'm just going to embrace for right now the space that this has created for me to, do other work, whether that be
Hmm.
finding a new time, like a new full-time job that pays better, or, building a different business that I might enjoy. I don't know. I don't care. I just know that real estate wasn't for me. And I'm so glad to have closed that door.
I am so incredibly happy for you because, again, so many people probably need to make this decision or at least really take a hard look at do they really want to be in real estate? So I'm just happy that you've made it to that other side. You made that decision and then you've made it to the other side and you're looking back at the closed door and it feels good because ultimately, isn't that what this is all about? Like, we all want to just feel good. Like, we want
Yeah.
life and business to feel good. We want to enjoy it. We don't get that much time here on this planet. And, like, you
Yeah.
gotta love it. Gotta love what
Yeah.
you're doing.
Yeah. Suffering doesn't need to be part of our daily lives,
No,
like
it
it just,
definitely doesn't. So, it definitely does not. Do you have any final words of wisdom for our listeners?
I would just say don't be making decisions out of fear. If you're staying in the industry because you're afraid you don't know what you'll do otherwise, don't let that be what keeps you stuck. There's lots of other opportunities out there. And I think that we are all great at certain things. And I think that we just have to give ourselves opportunity to try things. And when they don't work, be okay with letting them go so that we can, actually find our flow and stop trying to swim upstream.
I think we're going to end on that. That is excellent. I am so grateful for you coming on today, being vulnerable, sharing your story, because it really is something that I feel like is not talked about enough. And ultimately, I'm all about people building lives and businesses that they love, whether they're inside of real estate or outside of real estate. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Happy Agent Co. I hope you're feeling inspired and ready to take action to build a business and a life you absolutely love. If you enjoyed today's episode, it would mean the world to me if you could share it with a fellow agent who might need to hear it. Also, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and if you are feeling generous, leave a review. Until next time, stay happy.